Hi, my name is Chloe Kernaghan, and I'm here with FP Movement today to guide you through a cool down, maybe pre-bed wind down from your day, which means we're going to be doing a yoga practice that incorporates um, slower flows, yin postures, and we're going to finish with a restorative posture and sort of a relaxing meditation so that whether this is the middle of your day or maybe the end of your day, you have a moment to release, to quiet down, to settle, to ground before doing whatever might come next for you. I'm wearing your peach leggings. I'm wearing the Good Karma Scoop bra top. Both are incredibly comfortable, easy to move in. So I'll invite you to find your look. And then for props today, because we're doing some restorative and yin poses, I love having extra support. So I have two yoga blocks. I've got a blanket and a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you can always use a couch cushion. If you don't have a blanket, you could use a thick towel. And blocks, if you don't have them, you could find your thickest encyclopedia or Harry Potter book or whatever you might have at home, and we'll get started from there. So gather everything, find yourself on either your yoga mat or some floor space that's clear, and we're going to come onto the hands and knees to begin. I'm in my New York City home studio space, SKY TING, which is downtown New York City in Chinatown. So I will say, even though we're trying to relax, we will still probably have a few city sounds coming through. So we'll allow that to just be part of the practice, part of what keeps us very present or in the moment even. And so to start, we'll be on the hands and knees with our hands set up underneath the shoulders, our knees set up so that they're underneath the hips. We're going to take a few rounds of cats and cows just to get some liquid feeling in the spine. So you'll inhale, arch the back, lift the crown of the head and the tail up, and then exhale, you'll round the spine. And this, again, we're going to take everything a little bit slower than you might normally in, your standard, more vinyasa practice. So I want you to take your time with cats and cows here, allowing the spine to move really thoughtfully in this flexion and extension motion, and letting the breath start to travel a little slower and move a little longer through the system. So longer inhales, longer exhales as you do it. Let's do about 2 more cycles just on our own. So I'm not necessarily going to tell you when to breathe or when to move here. You'll take it more on that intuitive sense that your body will tell you when it's the time to adjust and to move on to the next. Good. And then when you start to come back through your center space, we'll take knees as wide as your yoga mat. Big toes come back together to touch, and then bring your seat back toward the heels of the feet. With this nice deep fold of the knees, walk your hands forward, and then your head is going to start to release down to the ground. If the head doesn't easily find the floor, it's always nice to bring a little something underneath the forehead, whether that's your yoga block or maybe your bolster or your blanket. Having the head rest on something, though, is really important in sending a signal to the nervous system that you're in a safe space and it's okay to start to quiet down and to unwind from our normal, more active, sympathetic state. You can let your elbows rest on the floor here as well and let the arms just get a little softer, shoulders get a little softer. Your breath travels low, travels wide into the lowest part of the lungs so that you feel there's pressure through the diaphragm down into the belly space on your inhale. And then an easy release for the exhale. Take a walk with the hands, the chest, the arms over on the diagonal to the right side. And I'll have you think you're going to keep your left seat really heavy, anchored onto that left heel as you reach out through your left fingertips. Nice big breath in and exhale. And then walk across the top of the mat, head on over towards the left side. Again, I want you to think anchoring through this opposite side of the seat. So the right seat now gets heavy as you reach out through the right fingertips. Good. And then you'll walk your way back through center. Shift yourself forward to come back onto the hands and knees. I'm going to just adjust how I'm facing you, but you can stay exactly as you are on your mat. With your hands set up under shoulders, knees set up under the hips, take your right foot straight out towards the right side. Your toes can point forward, your foot can find as best as it can the floor, and then you're going to take some circles around. And when you circle, I want you to keep a little bend in the right knee as you come out to the right, and then the leg might straighten out as you pull to the left. And this can highlight a lot of different things. So it's a way for us to really plug deep into the hip joint, but it also gives that inner line of the leg, the adductor line, a moment to find some length and space, which is an intense practice for a lot of us. Circle the other way as well. So I want you to feel like you're getting really earthy. So you're close to the ground. You're feeling the weight through the palms, the weight through that left shin, the weight through the right foot, and then you're really getting into the hip here. Good. And I'll have you stay now at center. The leg can be straight. You're going to keep that left hand on the floor underneath its own shoulder and just take the right hand, reach it up towards the ceiling. Turn your chest, turn your gaze. One more cycle here, breathing in. Good, and exhale. Bring the hand down. Right hand is going to stay down on the floor, and then we'll take the left arm and reach it up. So this is going to be a twist now, really trying to turn the chest in opposition, which will feel a little more intense on this side. Good. Steady breath, breathing in. And exhale. Nice. Bring your hands back closer towards the left knee. We're going to come to stand up on the left knee, left shin. Right leg stays out. You're going to take the right hand down the thigh, maybe even towards the calf. Reach the left arm up and over. So now getting more into the lateral side body, lengthening and opening up space there. And then back all the way up through center. Tap the left hand or the left fingertips down on the floor. Reach the right arm up towards the sky. So this should feel kind of like a modified side plank. Top palm, turn it forward, reach it over the ear on the long angle. Again, just trying to make some space in the waist. And then you'll find your way back upright. And then both hands can just come down underneath the shoulders, out in front of you, and then take that right knee back underneath you, and a cat-cow, just arching and rounding the spine, just as we start at the beginning of practice. Coming back through center, we'll do the same thing with the left side. Left leg reaches out to the left. Outer seam of the foot tries to seal down to the floor. Already I'm like, wow, the inner line of that leg lights up right away. And then we're going to take some circles around. And there's something almost like primal in doing this, right? So it feels almost cat-like to me. And, you know, anything that helps you embody in your practice or keeps your imagination woven into it so that you're not thinking about maybe what you're doing after this or what came before this, but really having the experience of what the body's going through right here and right now. And circle the other way. And with that, let the breath continue to be almost like your hook or your guide. So keep listening to those inhales, those exhales. Watch the breath pattern as it moves through you. Good. And then you'll come back through center. This left leg can stay straight. Right hand is going to stay on the floor first. Left hand reaches up towards the ceiling, and you turn your chest, turn your gaze up. And then trade it out. Left hand is down on the floor underneath you. Right hand reaches up towards the ceiling. Chest turns, gaze turns. Good. Bring the hands back closer to the knee. Start to stand up on that right knee, right shin. Left hand reaches down the left leg. Right arm goes up and then over on the long angle. This shape Parigasana is like so simple, and yet it does so much in the body. So take advantage while I've got it here. And then coming back up, take the right hand down. So it's more or less under the shoulder here. Left arm's going to sweep up to the ceiling. You're in that modified side plank. And then the left hand reaches over the ear. So you find that long line from the outer left foot through the fingertips. Beautiful. Start to rise your way back up. Bring both hands so that they're underneath you. Pull that left knee back. I'm going to switch myself around to face the front of my mat. You'll be where you are. Take an inhale, arch the back, open the chest. Exhale to round the spine. Drop your tail, drop your head. Inhale, you'll arch. Take the hands about a palm print further out in front of you, and then tucking toes, lifting your knees and hips, coming up and back through downward facing dog. Have a moment of just letting the legs pedal out, unwind the back of the legs through getting just a little more space going on, reaching the heel down, opening up the Achilles, getting into the calf a little more. The hamstrings have a gentle tug as well. And again, those steady breaths, just your way of hooking your attention, your focus into the practice. Just the right foot is going to step about a footprint forward on your yoga mat. You can look up here towards me if you need it. The right heel reaches down, the right thigh bone presses back, so the leg will go a little straighter. For this, it might feel like you can get a little more space by coming up onto the fingertips, but I want you to still feel like you're pressing your chest back towards the thighs, just like you would in a regular downward facing dog. And then take a big inhale through your nose. Open mouth, exhale, release. Right foot's going to step back. Left foot is going to step forward. Left heel drops down, left thigh bone presses back. You might find a very different something between right and left sides. I know my left side always is a little bit tighter than my right, so just be gentle with yourself. Take notice, just register what's going on. Big breath in and exhale. Walk both feet forward all the way up to the top of the mat. And then for a moment, we're just going to be in a forward fold at the top. A little bend in the knees here is great. The head drops heavy. You can take opposite elbow hold and let your torso just swing gently right to left a few times. And we're going to do one roll up to stand. So I want you to find your feet pressing firmly down. Keep a bend in the knees. Pin your belly into the spine and really slowly articulate the spine rolling up. Your head is the last thing to lift. As it does, just a big shoulder roll up, back, and then down. One more of those, rolling up, back, and then down. Good. Sweep your arms up towards the ceiling. Look up. Forward fold into the legs, hands coming all the way down. Good. Open the chest, look forward, take your left foot and your right foot back, just through a high plank pose, and then hips high to your downward facing dog. We'll take the right leg, lift it up and back behind us, bend the right knee for a moment, heel hangs to the seat, open the right hip up to the side. And then we'll take the right shin. We're going to come straight into a pigeon pose on the right. Right knee pulls right behind the right wrist, a little wider to the right even if you need it. The left leg's going to inch back. And for this pigeon pose, because we're really trying to wind down, we're not necessarily looking to have an extreme experience or sensation, I'm going to take, if I can grab it, I'm going to take my bolster, which could be your couch cushion if you have it, and I'm going to slide it underneath me. And so with that, it gives me just enough cushion for my hips lifted up that I can really find a sensation like I'm settling in and I feel very grounded. From here, I'm going to take my torso forward into a fold. I'm grabbing one of my blocks to place it right underneath the center of my chest. And then I'm going to put my blanket for my forehead so I have something really soft for my head to rest into. You can use your props however you'd like though. So, if this isn't your first yoga class and you have a setup that always works for you, you're welcome to take it. This is your moment to just drop in towards yourself. And so as I settle into my pigeon, things I'm going to think about are keeping the hips square, so right seat to its own side, left seat to its own side. If there's any agitation for the right knee or even the right hip in this shape, you can always flip onto your back and do a figure 4 shape with the right ankle over the left knee and the left knee pulling into your chest. In any variation that you're taking, keep the shoulder line soft so that
the traps and any tension in the neck can soften, and then let your breath, again, think of it dropping low and wide into the base of the lungs, using the diaphragm for breath, letting the belly move with the breath here. And then almost like a teenager not wanting to get out of bed, a little resistance as you lift your way back upright. And you can have a moment just getting the torso more upright. And from here, I'll move any props that are in front of me off to the side. I'm going to start to roll back on my seat, and I'm going to come all the way into like a half split shape. So the right knee is folded in deep. The left leg is extended out. It almost feels like a tree pose, but with the legs opened up a little bit wider, more into like a check mark or a V shape. Okay, from here, you'll have the option again to use some props. So I'm going to put my bolster on the inside of this left leg. Left knee can be bent. It can be straight, your choice. Left arm is going to reach inside of the leg. I like letting my elbow rest down on something. So that could be your bolster or maybe even your yoga block. And then I'm just going to use my left hand to hold the side of my head. From here, right butt is going to stay anchored like we did in that child's pose earlier. Keep the seat heavy and then start to take that top right arm and just reach it up and then over the ear. Again, we're getting into that opening of the side body here a lot. So I want you to imagine you could turn your chest towards the ceiling. It'll give you a nice big tug along that right side of your low back. And you can then think of breathing a little more specifically or directly into the right lung. Like you could open up the space between the ribs, the intercostal muscles, and let new breath, new space filter in. And let's just take one more cycle here, breathing in and breathing out. And you'll come upright and just have a moment coming back towards your center. Good. Props can be placed off to the side, and then we'll find hands at the top of the mat. Find your way back through downward facing dog. Stay in downward facing dog for a cycle of breath. So a moment for you to come back to your center, symmetry in the body. Good. And then the left leg will float high up and back behind you. For a moment, left knee bends, open the hip up to the side. From here, we're taking the left shin forward across the top of the mat, sliding into a pigeon pose. You'll once again grab any props you'd like. So I'm taking my little bolster, sliding it underneath the pelvis so I have a firm grounding. And you might adjust, where your knees are, where your legs are. You don't have to find it in the first setup. You can figure it out and let it morph as you need to. And then taking it into your fold. Grab whatever props you want to support the chest or support the forehead. Again, having the head rest down on something is really nice for the nervous system. So I'll encourage you, whether that's with your hands or a blanket or a block, having something underneath the head to rest onto something. And then letting that breath drop low and drop wide. A few longer inhales, longer exhales here, just so that the back of the hip, that outer line of the hip into the outer leg, could maybe unwind or let go a little bit more. Especially with all the sitting that we do. It's always good to give the body a moment to undo some of the postural tendencies and to move muscle groups in different ways than we do in our normal routine. You'll start to walk your hands back, lift your chest up,
And from here, we're once again going to move into that half V shape with the legs. So you'll lean back, pull any prop out from underneath you if you need to, and then you'll adjust. This time it's the right leg extended long, the left knee folded in. I'm going to turn around so I can face towards you because that's just a nicer experience for me. From here, you'll take that right arm inside of the right leg. Maybe it's down on the floor. Maybe you grab for your block or your bolster, whatever you've got. I'm using that hand to help just prop up the head, which feels really nice so my neck doesn't have to work quite so hard. And then I'm going to take that left arm and I'm going to sweep it up and over on the long angle. And again, I'm really trying to open up through the side of the waist here. So I'm going to give just a little bit of almost like a turn of the chest towards the ceiling, feeling that space and length along the whole sideline of the body. Taking bigger cycles, really trying to think the breath might move into the left side of my waist a little more. Then you'll come all the way upright, have a moment just, again, back through that vertical axis of the body, because sometimes being in a shape for a while, you come out and you're like, where am I? Okay, so from here, we're going to stay seated. I'll have you face your way forward towards the front of your mat. And then you're going to take the soles of your feet together. Knees are butterfly to open. This is a nice wide and long shape. So for feet together, knees butterfly open, sometimes we will take the feet really close in towards our seat. But for this variation, we're going to take it as a diamond shape in the legs. So you can pull the feet further forward. From here, it'll be a fold, and I want your forehead again to rest on something. So what I like to do is taking a block in between the feet. Block is on the floor on its highest height. And then, depending how long and where my body is, I might add something soft on top of it. You could always add a second block. Maybe you don't even need a block, or a block on a lower height works. Your variation is going to be what feels good for you. I'm going to take my elbows in front of those shins. I'm going to let my spine round, and I'm going to let my forehead rest down again on something. So this really starts to just quiet down my system with my head resting down on something, folding in towards myself. Having the legs in this butterfly position gives the back of my seat a moment to widen out as well. You might rock your forehead a little right, a little left, seeing if some gentle pressure on the front of that forehead space right around the third eye can help just quiet the busyness of the mind down. And then with the heaviness in the tail, you'll slowly roll your way all the way up towards your seat. Beautiful. And we have one more variation before we come into a restorative rest shape. So we're going to take our legs out wide into a V shape. I'm going to once again just face towards you because that'll be easier for visual reference. So you might have done this in a yoga class, vinyasa class even, or a yin class. This variation with the legs out in a V shape, the V doesn't have to be very wide. It can be as close as you need it to be, and your legs don't have to be all the way straight. You can keep a soft bend in the knees, however feels comfortable for you. I'm going to set myself up with almost like a little bolster ledge. So I'm putting one block on its lowest height, one block on its highest height out in front of me. And then I'm going to take my bolster and I'm going to lean it on an angle so that as I lean forward from here, I don't have to lean so far forward. I have like a little chest support, and then I can let one side of my face come down towards the bolster to rest. My elbows are on the floor. My feet I'm going to let be just soft, and we're going to be here for a few cycles of breath. I really love doing this one before bed as a way to really unwind that transition of the leg into the hip. I know this one can be really, really, really intense for a lot of us, especially along that inner line of the leg. So just seeing if you can allow the body to breathe through the moments of discomfort. Slower inhales, maybe slightly longer inhales and exhales. And let that smooth and steady quality of the breath be your guide. Turn your face the other way if you haven't already, so that the neck evens out if you are turning your head one side to the other. And then you'll slowly bring your head back to center and walk your way back up towards your seat. Move your props just out of the way, and then to come out of it with the legs, you can grab the inner thighs and start to gather your feet slowly together. Feet can be on the ground, and just let them do an easy windshield wiper side to side. Anything that's still hanging on, just letting it go. And then we're going to finish with lying down in one of my favorite poses. It's probably a lot of our favorite poses. It's called Supta Baddha Konasana. We're going to use props to support us in it. So again, if you have this couch cushion bolster situation, you'll use that. Center long on the mat. I'm going to take a folded up blanket at the very top of the bolster. That'll be for my head, so the head has a little bit of a higher lift than the rest of the torso, which is a really nice signal again for the nervous system to start to unwind and quiet down. From there, to come into it, I love having blocks for my outer thighs. If you don't want to use them, you don't have to, but we're going to do soles of feet together, knees butterflied open. I'm going to put my blocks on slight angles for my outer thighs to rest onto. And then as I settle down onto this bolster, I'm lifting my tail, letting my butt kind of re-find the ground. And then I'll find my head leaning back and adjust my blanket for the skull. And then your hands can rest wherever feels good, on the pelvis or off to the side. And I'm going to finish just talking us through an easy body scan. And you might lose my voice at times, and if you find yourself floating off, no problem, but if you find yourself tuning back in, just pick up the scan wherever we are. Allow the focus to hover right above the crown of the head. And I like to imagine it's like a perfect temperature water that starts to get poured down the length of my torso all the way towards the feet from the very top of my head. So if you can imagine the cascade of perfect warm water rolling across the face, down the sides of the skull, the back of the head, down the neck, past the chin, past the ears, down the throat, across the front of the chest, across the collarbones, and down the shoulder blades.
The water streams down the arms, past the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, down the palms to the fingertips. And then down the back line, past the shoulder blades, the spine, the ribs, through the low back, all the way to the pelvis. On the front side, past the chest, past the ribs, past the soft front belly, to the front of the pelvis, all the way to the hips. And it continues down, past the seat, down the legs, the knees, the calves, the shins, the ankles, all the way down to the feet, out through the tips of the toes. The water runs out. And if you can do that quick scan just twice more on your own, but allowing it to be more fluid now, just like water is actually being poured to release the entire physical body, softening, quieting. So 2 more times, like someone's pouring a perfect temperatured bucket of water, and you just melt with it, you soften with it. From here, you're welcome to stay resting. You might transition and let the legs just straighten all the way out, moving any props off to the side so the legs have a moment of opening up a little more. And if you feel ready to move out of this space, you can curl over to a side off of the bolster, off of the blanket, and then use your hands to lift you all the way up and finding your way to a comfortable seat, sitting however feels good, cross-legged or on the knees and shins. And just an upright moment as we finish practice today. Hands can gather to the center of the chest, lift the chest, allow your head to bow, sweet and easy, moment of gratitude for your efforts. With gratitude for the techniques, the teachings. Full breath in. Easy exhale. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you feel a little more relaxed and a little more unwound and ready to settle or to stay quiet. Once again, my name is Chloe, and thanks for joining me in FP Movement today. I hope to see you soon. Bye.